Hi everyone, welcome back to Total War Therapy, and today we will find out which are the best Chariot units in Total War Warhammer 3. I had probably 500 subscribers when I started the same series 1 year ago. So many things have changed and I will never thank you enough for that. These are some of the models that inspired the units in the video. Let me know if you want to know more lore about them, and let's begin. Hi, I'm Alberto, I'm a real person, and here you will find the beginner's guide, the battle unit roster, tier list, ranking, and many shorts. So if you wanna support the channel, please consider to subscribe. Let's start with answering the question which is the best melee chariot in Total War Warhammer 3, and in the 5th position I put the Razorgore chariots from the Beastman unit roster that back in Total War Warhammer 1 when they were introduced they were one of the strongest, even because there were not plenty of chariots units at that time. In any case, this unit has a lot of armor that is quite a mystery, because if you have a look at the model, it's already a miracle that all that stuff is attached together. The speed, the melee attack and melee defense are okay. The weapon strength is decent with armor piercing damage and infantry bonus, but the true strength of this unit is first the woodsman attribute that allows this unit to pass through the trees. So unlike all the other large units, these chariots will not suffer any penalty from going through a forest. And then the Primal Fury, that is a boost when the leadership is higher than the 50%, that will increase the speed, the charge bonus and the melee attack, giving also the immunity to psychology. And the charge bonus of plus 10% is particularly great because it will raise the total bonus to 90 points. That, believe me, is quite destructive. In the 4th position, even if it's a reskin, unfortunately, I put the Gore Beast Chariots of Khorne that were introduced at the release of Total War Warhammer 3 for the faction of Khorne. As I said, they are just a copy but Khorne affiliated of a unit of the Warriors of Chaos, but in my opinion they are definitely better. Let's start to say that their armor is huge. They have 130 by default, and all the infantry without the armor piercing damage can deal no damage to them. The speed is quite low, but is understandable since they are very heavy. The melee attack is better than the melee defense compared to other chariots units, and the weapon strength honestly could have been better. I don't know why they put it so low, but still with the armor piercing damage and the anti-infantry bonus. The charge bonus is high, and then it will got the spell resistance of 35% that I'm not particularly concerned about all the the offensive spells, but the debuffs that some spellcaster can inflict to this unit will have very little power to them. And then the frenzy, that is a boost of the weapon damage, the charge bonus, the melee attack, and it will give also the immunity to psychology. That overall in the package makes this unit very great in my opinion. In the 3rd place of the podium I put the Lion Chariots of Krache, that I never knew how to pronounce this province of Ultuan, so you're free to correct me in the comments. In any case, they are these chariots, of course, of elegant high health manufacture that are pulled by white lions. That's why for me they are the best model, at least in this category. They have less armor than the other colleagues that we previously talked about, but they get more speed. The melee attack is great, the weapon strength is the same, so 70, but with armor piercing damage and anti-infantry bonus as always. The charge bonus again is a little less than the other chariots, and they will get the missile resistance of 30% because for some reason the lion pelt in this game offers protection against arrows, and then they will get the martial prowess. So where their hit points will be greater than the 25%, they will get an additional melee defense and melee attacks. That it's very great because especially in the defense they will be quite hard to take down. Even if in the video you can see the contrary. In the second place of the podium I put a single entity Magic Chariot, the Black Coach from the Vampire Counts roster, that Neferata, when you're coming, please come as soon as possible. Let's start to say that the armor is far less than all the other chariots, but the speed is quite okay. The melee attack and melee defense are decent, but with flaming attacks and magical attacks. The weapon strength, since it's a single entity, it will be higher of course, so it's 280 again with the armor piercing damage and the anti-infantry bonus. The charge bonus is high and it will get the Strider attribute that, in my opinion, for a chariot unit is very helpful because it will suffer no penalty caused by the terrain, so you can go up a hill without any reduction of the speed and the charge. But the main strength of this unit are these three abilities that will increase their power and effect with each nearby enemy killed. That one will boost the damage resistance, one will boost the vigor replenishment, and the third one will increase the weapon damage, both base and armor piercing. It's one of my favorite and honestly it's very fun to use. In the first place of the podium I put the queen of the chariots of this game, and for me the best melee chariot of Total War Warhammer 3. Of course I'm talking about the Exalted Seeker Chariot of Slaanesh. That it's a wonderful unit that can smash a melee infantry and make everyone flying away. The animation are so picturesque and cinematographic, that's why I love it that much. The armor is not that high, but believe me, for a Slaanesh unit is more than great. The speed is insane, is 100, that means that is faster than all the cavalry units and even faster than some flying units in this game, and you have all the time to get at the back of the enemy and charge from there. The melee attack and melee defense are higher than the other chariots, and they get the poison effect that will reduce the speed of the speed of the enemies, so it's very good if you're hunting down some enemies. The weapon strength is 450, so basically a character weapon strength level, again with armor piercing damage and infantry bonus. It's a Slaanesh unit, so you can expect some physical resistance. The Strider attribute, so it will suffer no penalty caused by the terrain. The Devastating Flanker, so it will get the double of the charge bonus when it will attack the rear of the flank of the enemy units, and then the Perfect Vigor, so this unit will never get tired. And for me these all together are the reasons why this unit is one of the best in my favorite chariots in the game. Now let's answer to the question which is the best missile chariot in Total War Warhammer 3, and in the fifth position I put the Skeleton Archer chariots from the faction of the Tompkins, that you can believe me, they are better than you may think. I have to say that of course their stats are lower than the average of the chariots in this game, especially the melee attack, the melee defense and the weapon strength. They will lose the armor piercing damage, that is not good, but they will keep at least the anti-infantry bonus. The range, the missile attack, will get a range of 140, that it's okay, but the missile strength is quite poor in my opinion. The armor and the speed are okay, but the true power of this unit is the number, because you can rely on 12 entities instead of the 4 of almost all the other chariots of the game, and this will be more effective if you have to charge and destroy as soon as possible a missile infantry unit or an artillery piece, or in general if you want to bring more confusion to the enemy army formation. And for me, for this reason, are great, but of course, I mean, we're not talking about a very elite unit. In the fourth position I put the Marauder Ice Wolf chariots from the faction of Norska, that are basically these not that much sophisticated chariots pulled by Ice Wolves, a little too shining at least for me. They will get plenty of armor, I really don't understand why. The speed is insane, they are almost as fast as the Seeker chariots of Slaanesh, and and you have all the time to get at the back of the enemy and attack at their shoulders. The melee attack and melee defense are quite high, and you get the frostbite that will reduce the speed of the enemies in case you are chasing them down. It can be very useful. The weapon strength is one of the highest for some reasons. I mean, amongst all the chariots that we already talked about. The charge bonus is great. They have a little range, I have to say, for their missile attack, that I'm sorry about that, but at least they get the armor piercing damage with their missile attack. That is great if you are hitting hard, heavy infantry unit, or if you are chasing a unit of heavy cavalry and so on. And then they will get the rage. So basically their physical resistance, leadership and melee attack will be boosted with the time spent engaged in melee. Overall, they are a great unit, and you should consider to give them a chance. In the third place of the podium, I put the Northern Sky Cutters from the faction of High Hells that they got introduced in the very last DLC, Tides of Torment. Now, as I said in many previous videos, I love the concept, the idea and aesthetics of this unit, but about the performance over the battle, I think that it's not that great. The armor is okay, they have a good speed, but for some reason it's lower than the Wolves chariots. The melee attack and melee defense and weapon strength are very low, especially the weapon strength that will lose both the armor piercing damage and the anti-infantry bonus, and the charge bonus itself will be the lowest of all this video. The missile attack is not that bad, the range is 140, they don't have armor piercing damage, but at least they got 3 volleys per model, and they got some abilities of the High Hells, for example the martial prowess that will increase the melee defense and melee attack when the hit points are greater than 25%. Now, the main advantage of this unit is the fact that they can fly, so they can bypass obstacles, they can cross lands without a penalty, and in siege battles, for example, they are very effective, and that's why, even if they are quite niche, I think that they deserve the third position. In the second place of the podium, I put the Cold One chariots that every time I use them with the Dark Elves faction, I feel disgusted by all the damage that they deal to the melee infantry that I charge. They have plenty of armor, 110, the speed is quite low, but you have to consider that they are dinosaurs, they are not horses. The melee attack is higher than the average, the weapon strength is good, but a little low than other chariots, but at least with the armor piercing damage, the anti-infantry bonus, and they have this missile attack that for me is the main strength of this unit, because they have a range of 125, that is a little less than the Northern Sky Cutters, for example, but they will get almost 200 of missile strength with armor piercing damage. So believe me, against armored cavalry chariots that you are, for example, chasing down, this unit will be very strong at that. And then they will get the ability of the murderous prowess that will increase the melee attack, the charge bonus, leadership, and so on, when the leadership is higher than broken. And there will be these primal instincts, because since they are dinosaurs, when the hit points are less than 50%, so when you are starting to take damage, you will have an increased charge, melee attack, and physical resistance. Overall, they are a very great unit. In the first place of the podium, so as the best missile chariot in Total War Warhammer 3, I put the War Sleds by Kislev that, they are not even chariots, they are basically war wagons pulled by giant white bears, and I cannot ask more than that, because they are wonderful. I love their model, their idea, and they are so strong over the battlefield. They have plenty of armor, they are almost indestructible, their speed is quite low, but but I mean, you can understand why. Their melee attack is one of the higher of the entire category. The weapon strength is also one of the highest with 88 points by default. They get the armor piercing damage, the anti-infantry bonus, and then they got this missile attack with a range of 130 that, believe me, it's great, and with a missile strength that it may look little, but believe me, they cause plenty of damage. They are armor piercing. You will have plenty of stealthy mounted atop that will fire with their guns, and then of course there is the ability of the buy our blood, so when the leadership will be wavering, they will get still 25 seconds to attack the enemy, you know, with all the, I mean, as strong as they can. And believe me, they definitely deserve the first place in this category, and wow. And now for the final chapter, let's answer to the question which is the best legendary lord mounted on a chariot in Total War Warhammer 3. And in the 5th position I put Volkmar the Grim, a legendary lord of the Empire that his campaign is particularly fun because you start in the middle of the Badlands and you have to cleanse these desert lands from the Vampire Counts, the Tompkins and the Greenskins, and I just love it. He will get plenty of armor. The speed is quite low, and also the charge bonus, because you have to consider that this is still a war altar and not properly a chariot, but in the campaign you can boost the charge bonus and the speed, and you can raise it to the level of a chariot unit. The melee attack and melee defense are okay with the flaming attacks and magical attacks. The weapon strength is high with the anti-infantry bonus, but without the armor piercing damage. And of course there are all the abilities of Volkmar, one in particular, the Grand Soul Fire, that will cause a bombardment over, I mean, all around. Volkmar is particularly great with this chariot, and then other like the Grand Shield of Fate that will increase the damage resistance, so when you charge the enemy you will be more protected. I really think that this is a lot of fun. In the 4th position I put Ground the Punch. That is my favorite legendary lord from the faction of the Greenskins. He got a lot of armor, a very good speed, that it's insane that if you consider that he's a giant goblin, too big to walk, and I mean that's why he prefers to use as a mount a chariot pulled by 3 wolves, because 2 are not enough. The melee attack and melee defense are more than okay. The weapon strength is high with a lot of armor piercing damage, the anti-infantry bonus. He got the regeneration, that is one of my favorite attributes that will make him even more resilient, and then he gets many abilities that will boost I mean all his stats, from the melee defense to the leadership, the damage resistance, and so on. Overall I think that it's a very great legendary lord, quite unique, awesome to see with all the animation, with all the charge, and over the campaign it shines because he will get these mechanics where he will be able to cook stuff, we can say. In the 3rd place of the podium I put Mother Ostenkia, that I know that many of you will disagree because you hate this character, but I actually had a great time with her. I met one guy in my classes that basically bought any DLC of the entire trilogy except the one of Mother Ostenkia, I mean just the package of Kislev, but I think that she's a great character and she's a great chariot legendary lord. The armor and speed are not that great, and the weapon strength is probably one of the lowest amongst all the different characters, spellcasters included, but at least she got this missile attack with a good range of 120 and a missile strength of more than 500 by default. That it's one of her main strengths, because it's basically an artillery piece, a magical artillery piece, quite precise and very powerful. And then of course she's a spellcaster with some other abilities like summoning a giant bear that will land and cause an explosion on the enemy army, and yeah, all the spells from the lore of Hex that for me they are very great. And overall, you know, if you consider the total of the package, I can tell you that this is one of the strongest legendary lords on a chariot, and I love to use her. In the second place of the podium, I put Cetra the Unperishable, that I'm looking forward to play with him and embark on my mission to defeat Nagash with the next DLC, the Lords of the End Times, but for now we can say that he's a great legendary lord mounting a special unique chariot called the Chariot of the Gods that will grant him a charge bonus by default of 100, that is one of the highest by default of the game, and you can increase it of course by leveling the character up. You will get a lot of armor, a very great speed, the melee attack and melee defense quite insane, a good weapon strength with armor piercing damage and the anti-infantry bonus, and then of course you will be also a spellcaster. So with the lore of Nekara, that it's not my favorite, but I mean you can play more with that, and then an explosion, the wrath of Ptra, that I mean if you use it in combination with the charge of your chariot, believe me, it's just stunning, and I love this character. I really looking forward to play again with him in the new setting of the End Times. And in the first place of the podium for the best legendary lord with a chariot mount, I put Tsarina Catering with her unique mount, the Ice Court sled. That is one of the best things ever made for free in this game. They introduced it after the controversial release of the Shadows of Change DLC, and I'm very happy for that. The armor is great, they have plenty of speed, there are a couple of ice guards that will throw frostbite arrows at the enemy with a range of 160. They will be armor piercing and with magical damage. There will be many horses of the winter that will pull this chariot, reaching a charge and a speed that over the campaign, if you level up the character, it will be almost unbelievable. And of course Tsarina Catering is also a spellcaster with many spells from the lore of the ice, that it's a quite great lore of magic. And yeah, overall I think that she deserves this place, and seriously, her chariot is insane. If you see it over the battlefield with all the animation, the charge, and how the enemies will fly away when this chariot pass by, I don't know, it's just lovely, wonderful, and I think that I can finish this video with that. Thank you for following me, and see you very soon.